Are you tired of thinking about drinking, trying to control it, and ending up in the same loop? Welcome to the Feel Good Alcohol Free podcast, where high achieving women learn how to step out of the stop start cycle and build a life that feels calm, clear, and alcohol free on purpose. I'm your host, Lindsay, accredited sober coach and former high functioning drinker. After more than a decade of drinking every night while keeping up a big career and a life that looked fine from the outside, I rebuilt my identity from the inside out. Now I help women stop negotiating with themselves and trust their own decisions again. This isn't a podcast full of cliches or willpower pep talks. You're getting real conversations, lived experience coaching, and practical tools you can use inside your actual life, not perfect conditions. So take a breath. You're here because you're ready to feel good in your real life. So let's get started. Welcome back. I am so glad that you are taking time to listen to this episode and really just listen to something that is hopefully going to uplift you, give you a little takeaway, move you forward in your journey towards an alcohol-free life. It means the world to me that you listen to this podcast and also just that you're following along and that you're taking time for yourself, because that is what life is all about. We have to fill our own cup and take care of ourselves before we can take care of all of the other demands and people in our lives. And so first, happy June. It's basically summer. We're officially sliding into the season of sunshine, out of office replies, maybe some travel. Hopefully you've got some beach trips planned, maybe a week at the lake, a bunch of weekends at the lake. But I want to check in with you first. Are you heading into this summer feeling energized? Or are you looking at the calendar like a finish line that, like crawling over? That is not how we want this to go. You know that I love, if you've been listening to this for a while or following me for a while, you know that I love operating in quarters. And so here we are, we have 1 month left in Q2. And it's also this time where this quarter ends before a big holiday week, right? We have 4th of July that kicks off Q3. The start of Q3 always has me like feeling, I don't know, like behind, because whenever I was in corporate, it's like we kick off with our Q3 goals, but nobody's at work. Everybody's off. And so it was always kind of like this rush, kind of like in Q4, where the end of the quarter, it's like you have to have everything done and accomplished before basically really Thanksgiving, but you've got like maybe a week and a half to 2 weeks in December also. And so with the second half of the year, it doesn't feel as structured for me as the first half of the year does. And I am a girl who loves my structure. I love my calendar. I love quarters. I love thinking in these like blocks of time and always just like measuring success in that way. And so think about this, are you as far along in this journey as you wanted to be? Are you taking the steps necessary for yourself to get to that finish line that you want without barely crawling across it? Like, we need to be running through like there's a big ribbon in a parade waiting for us. I'm going to talk a little bit today about burnout and stress and what happens when we're taking time off through that. For example, we've all been there. You go on a week-long beach trip, or maybe, you head to the lake and you spend the whole time vacationing. And that may look like having a drink in your hand to relax. And you say, I'm on vacation. How many times have you said that? I'm on vacation. I'm relaxing. And then you come home on Saturday or Sunday and you're totally wiped out and you have 57 loads of laundry to do. You have grocery shopping that needs to be done because there's not an ounce of food in your house because you've been gone, and you are like exhausted. You're so tired and you're like, oh my God, I have to open my email if you weren't checking in on it all week. And I need to take a look at my calendar. I need to look at, I've got to get ready for the week. And immediately you feel this sinking pit of your stomach where you're like, oh my gosh, I need a vacation from my vacation. I just wish I had like just one more day to kind of get my life together. You're puffy, you're tired, and you're already dreading the work week because you know you're going to start it at a deficit. You know you're already depleted. If you want to check out what this looks like inside Feel Good AF, you can go to the website. You can check out exactly how this all works with the women who are inside my group coaching container and my one-on-one clients as well, because this is exactly what I teach them to do, is this whole idea of not looking at a vacation as something that you have to drink at. Our brains are simply just making all of these associations between what we believe alcohol is required at or during. And so it's all about like unraveling that thread. I want you to just imagine instead coming home from that beach trip, actually feeling fresh, feeling clear, and ready to take on the world. My first week off that I ever took while I was sober, I was like ready and looking forward to going back to work. Like, it was one of the first times I ever felt like I took a break from work and actually rejuvenated. It was one of the most eye-opening times in my journey, because what you want is to feel clear, to feel sharp, to go into work on top of your game, being like, I'm on my A game. I know I just took a week off. I know I have 3,000 emails in my inbox. And guess what? Monday is back-to-back meetings. Welcome back to work. But like, I'm here for it. That's what you want. That's what you want. And so this is not a pipe dream. This is a byproduct of shifting from a state of depletion from drinking to relieve stress and to relax to a state of self-leadership. I talk about this a lot. So, but before I get into the invisible tax of drinking, I'm going to tell you a little story about my first time off, basically, of being sober, and not like holiday time. I mean, like time that I took off from my work. My last drink was in August of 2020. And before that, in 19, I had done a 200-hour yoga teacher training, and I wasn't like planning to be a yoga teacher or anything. I thought maybe I'll teach yoga classes once in a while. I very rarely do that, by the way. And it's always a disaster because I very rarely do it. So it takes a lot of effort for me to teach a yoga class because it requires me to like really plan a lot. So anyway, I was probably 9 or 10 months alcohol free. I had been in a new job and I wanted to just take some time for myself. And so I also had a really bad habit of in my corporate life where I wouldn't take any time off early in the year. And sometimes I would go like 8 or 9 months without taking any time off, other than maybe like a long weekend here and there. And so I started to get really intentional about making sure that in the first 3 months of the year that I would take time off. And so I did this and I decided that I wasn't going to go anywhere. I just was going to stay home and relax. I was going to do a few little things around the house, organize the pantry, clean out a closet, do a big donation thing, something like that. And the other thing that I was going to do was I was going to go to 2 yoga classes every day, the Monday through Friday part of my time off, at a different studio or a different teacher. So I just really was like, I am going to experience something different this week that is just something that I've never really done for myself. And so I had this whole week off where I balanced productivity around my house, real rest, like sleeping more, exercise and yoga. And I approached the end of the week thinking, I've done everything I wanted to do this week. I feel amazing. And I did it all for myself. And it's really hard to put yourself first like that. At first, I felt really selfish, like, oh my gosh, because my husband worked that week. Like, God, I'm going to take time off, like just by myself. My husband's going to be working the whole time. Like, I felt a little selfish. Like, gosh, shouldn't I save my precious PTO? I mean, I worked at companies that we always had unlimited PTO, but like, come on, we all know what unlimited PTO equals. I never felt like it was unlimited, and it always sort of came at a cost for me. And so I felt really guilty for taking this time off just to spend a whole week doing my own stuff. But I moved on from it because then I also quickly realized that my husband takes a whole week off every November and goes away with the guys to do whatever they do at, they call it deer camp. Anyway, as I moved through this week of vacation, it was just this true testament of how taking a break from work and doing things that you love and also getting a hint of that productivity, it just made me feel so good. And I went back to work that following Monday, like a new person, like a person who had actually unplugged from their job and felt amazing. And so maybe you don't feel like you have the ability to take a full week, but maybe take a few extra days and maybe do a Thursday, Friday and spend 2 days like really unplugging from work, and don't drink and do all of the healthy, amazing things that your body really is needing and craving that equal real relaxation. That's just a little story of where I just really leaned in and took care of myself in a staycation. You don't have to go away to get the relaxation and the self-care that you need, was really the lesson there. This is the era of burnout. You maybe are keeping up with your senior management expectations. You've got back-to-back meetings most days. Your CEO just moved a deadline up to Friday that was supposed to be 2 weeks from now. You're eating lunch at your desk, if you eat at all, while navigating the logistics of having to be at 2 different soccer games at 5:30 p.m. Like, does this sound familiar? Do you have kids who play multiple sports? Maybe you have a parent who is also aging on top of this. I just had to deal with a situation with my mother where she couldn't navigate like hiring a new cleaning person for her house. And so these sort of things start to pile up with your parents as well. Like, they're unable to do some day-to-day things that they used to be able to handle, and we've got to like pitch in and help there too. And so by the time you land at home, you are totally depleted. I want to be really clear. You are totally capable of handling all of these things and circumstances that life is throwing at you. You are a high-level, brilliant woman, but you are running on empty. And in that moment of total depletion, the wine or whatever your drink of choice is feels like the only thing that is going to shut this noise down. It's going to help you relax. You're drinking because you're trying to solve a problem of a demanding life with the only tool that you have left. It gives you that instant relief. Having a drink equals about 20 minutes of relief. That's it. That's it. Okay. So the tool that you're using to solve this problem is actually a tax. It is stealing the very rest you need to handle the same day you had today, tomorrow. Like, tomorrow is going to be another day of back-to-back meetings, another day of moved deadlines, shifting priorities, kids with soccer games or kids with baseball games or whatever the things are, the mom who's calling you because she needs something, or maybe it's even more serious than a parent who's not able to just manage some of the day-to-day stuff anymore. Maybe they're needing care that you as a person can no longer provide. It's one thing to help your parents, get their bills paid and shuffle around finances and make sure that they are getting to their doctor's appointment. It's a whole other level once they need higher level of care. All of these things, this is a circumstance of your life. This is the life that you're living, and you don't really have control over many of them. We've chosen to go after the big career because you love it. You love your job, and there's elements of what brought you in there but you've been using alcohol to cope with the stress of it. And so now you're feeling so depleted and burnt out that it's like we start to feel like we're just in this rat race. There's no way out. There's no level that is going to make you feel rested. And then when you are taking precious time off to relax and have vacation, you're not solving the problem. You're further depleting yourself. We need to get you out of the effort cycle. We need to get you out of this routine of drinking to relieve stress. And then what happens is you're so depleted, you just say F it and you do it, even when you don't want to. Even when you're like, I'm trying to take this break. I really want to hit, 3, 5, 30, 90 days alcohol free, whatever it is. But it's like we have to move past the idea that taking care of yourself, self-care, if you will, is just like a massage or a manicure or something. Actual self-care is biological. When you are depleted, your nervous system is screaming for regulation, and part of that is rest. And so alcohol is absolutely destroying your sleep architecture. Even 1 or 2 glasses prevents you from reaching deep restorative sleep, which is why you wake up feeling so heavy. I was just having this conversation with one of my clients where she wears an Aura ring. And so she has been on a progress that looks like 5 to 7 day breaks back to back. Like she keeps doing that. And then usually around day 5 or 7, she ends up having a slip. And she knows that every single time she has a slip, it is because she has been just totally depleted and she should have said no to something. What happens is she has seen now multiple times that on the days she says F it and she has that slip, and she's not drinking a whole bottle of wine when she has these slips. It is 1 or 2 glasses, but she sees the difference in her sleep, and it shows up in less deep sleep and interrupted REM cycles. Like the REM and the deep sleep are what have been mostly impacted. And that affects your ability to show up and be sharp and be ready to go every single day. To reclaim your capacity, you need to do real self-care, actually taking care of yourself. You need to prioritize protein and you need to prioritize consistent movement to stabilize your dopamine, because that's also like what you're chasing after. When you are having a drink, it gives you that dopamine spike. And then around the 20-minute mark, your dopamine crashes and you want that again. So that's why you always have that second glass. That's why it's like you're just chasing it. So you need to prioritize protein. I'm saying this again. You need consistent movement to stabilize your dopamine. And listen to this piece, okay? It takes about 4 to 6 weeks of no alcohol for your metabolism to adjust and for you to feel that like big lift where the mental fog lifts. It finally clears. And when you are nourishing your body instead of checking out and numbing it, you aren't just quitting the drinking. This is how you are investing in your own health, your own brain power, your energy, your peace of mind, all that clarity that you really want. So this is not about just like no longer using alcohol to relieve stress. It's about your total package of well-being. It really is. This stress drinking, I really want to emphasize how this is just one layer of what you have to navigate when you're quitting drinking. And this is why the women inside Feel Good AF are just so much more successful as they move through this journey, because they get support with a lot of this day-to-day stuff, but then we're able to break down like, okay, what do you have coming up that we need to start planning for? Because it's not that when you have a drink or you have a setback that you're throwing away all of your progress, but it can feel demoralizing. You can be really disappointed in yourself. And also, if you're really wanting to get to that point where you have that mental clarity and that sharpness and that energy, that 45-day mark, that 4 to 6 week period of no alcohol is when that starts to really glean. And so it's a really good milestone to reach. Now, we don't count days. I don't want anybody like hung up on their number of days, but that time period of having the alcohol out of your system is just very powerful for your overall well-being. And so you can think of it as self-care. you can actually flip this around and say, I am taking care of myself by not drinking. This is an act of self-care. I want you to be able to get some quick wins under your belt. That is what this is about. And this is so important in our journey because quick wins help us build confidence. They help us collect evidence that we can do this, that we can quit drinking. So here's what I want you to implement. And I'm going to give you some context here first. I had a recent session with a client, and a lot of times, some of the words she would use is she was like, I just feel so scatterbrained. I feel like I'm all over the place during her work block. Like, this woman has a situation where she has about 4 hours a day that she works because she's also a mom. And so she's currently taking on a part-time role where she has 4 hours to work, and the rest of the time is like shuttling the kids around, getting them out the door to school. She picks them up at 2:30 every day. She realized that she was waiting until the very last minute to do this transition from like closing out her work mode into, the mom mode, having to go back and pick up the kids. This is relevant whether you work a full-time job or, you're trying to condense a lot of work into a short period. Let's give the example of when you have to leave work to go, maybe you've got a 5:30 soccer field to get to, or maybe a kid pick up earlier in the afternoon, like wherever this schedule is. I want you to give yourself 20 minutes at the end of the day. Maybe you can't do this. Maybe you're like, Lindsay, you're hilarious. I am in back-to-back meetings all day. I don't have 20 minutes. At 4:40, I'm not sitting down to do this. Okay. You need to prioritize this. This is important. You need to take at least 10 to 15 minutes to do this every single day. Leave earlier than you think you need to. Like, I need you to give this time to yourself and use that time to sit in the quiet and plan and look at your schedule for tomorrow. You need a buffer so that your brain isn't running on repeat the list of stuff that you have to do the next day or at 9 o'clock that night. I know it's very common to just go, and then also log back into work at 9 to wrap up a few things. And so really thinking about, what did today look like? What did I not do today that I need to prioritize for tomorrow? Like, what are the things that you're going to be thinking about all night if you don't like write them down and make sure that they're prioritized for the next day? And this creates this buffer so that you're not like slamming from a board meeting directly to a soccer game or a baseball game or into a chaotic kitchen of homework everywhere and, a husband who's saying like, oh, did you want to have a glass of wine? Because maybe that's another podcast episode also, is really like reminding your partner that you're not drinking. And definitely there are other episodes where I talk about this. This is a main thing that we focus on inside Feel Good AF. You can visit Feel Good AF page. I've linked it in the show notes here, where it breaks down all the things that you learn inside when you join my program. Finding the language to continue the conversation with your husband or your partner is something that we focus on big time inside this coaching program, because we have to train them on this new version of ourselves that we're building. I help you find the right language that feels good so that you can start to open up to your partner so that they can see like, oh, she's serious. Because like, let's get real. I told my husband 8,000 times, like, oh my gosh, I need to quit drinking. And then 3 hours later, he'd see me on the couch with a glass of wine. They are used to seeing you break your own promises to yourself. Like, this is about self-trust and self-leadership. And so we have to lead ourselves to success. I give you the strategy to do that, and then you're going to implement it with the support and accountability of all the other women inside the group. We're not just talking about like, white knuckling your way through a night and quitting drinking by avoiding life even more and feeling worse about it. We're talking about self-leadership so that every single day you're taking care of yourself in a way that makes you feel so good that alcohol is not going to make sense in your life. So we have to interrupt the urge to open a bottle of wine the second that you walk in the door because you've already given your nervous system the quiet that it's actually craving. And that quiet shows up in that transition from work to mom mode, or work to wife family mode, work to I have to go deal with my parents mode. You need that transition. So I want you to spend this 10, 15, 20 minutes if possible reflecting on your day. What went really well? What could I have done differently today? What was that conversation with a coworker that just really didn't go well? I need to fix that, instead of avoiding it by drinking and ruminating over it all night. So, what is something there that needs your attention? And then what is that list? What are those 3 things that you didn't get to today? And let's be honest, maybe it was a lot more than 3, but like, what can you control? And look at your calendar for the next day. Okay, prioritize yourself. Like, really spend the time so that this can get out of your brain and you're not thinking about it all night. Okay. Implementation is the hardest part. It's easy to listen to this. It's easy to say, oh, that's a good idea, Lindsay. I'm going to start doing that. It's harder to do it when the kids are mouthy and work is piling up. And this is why being in a room with women just like you, holding each other accountable and sharing these tactical strategies is the fastest way to get out of the rut that you might feel like you're in, and get into this part of the journey where you're making progress, you're feeling your best. So this is what I want you to implement. You know that you don't have to stay in this area of depletion. If you're ready to do this, you want to reclaim that spark and your capacity. I have 3 ways that we can work together. There's always 3 ways at least that we can work together. We have a 90-minute session. This is a 90-minute intensive session. It's high impact, where we map out your sober toolkit for your upcoming summer travel. And we're going to set your baseline. It's not about perfection. It's not about, Lindsay, I need to take 30 days without drinking, or 90 days, the whole summer without drinking. We talk about, what does success look like for the summer? What will I have done without alcohol? What do my weekdays start to look like? We can plan out where you want to go. This journey is not linear. It's not, oh my gosh, I met with Lindsay and then I never get to drink again. It's, what does success look like? You have to start somewhere. This journey is full of slips and slides, and I teach you exactly what to do every time you have a slip, so that you can use it as learning and education for yourself and not self-loathing. Like, that is the most important part. The second way to work with me is inside my group coaching container. You can join a community of high achieving women for weekly strategy calls and community support to keep you on track through the summer. Now, my group coaching program also includes a one-on-one with me that is basically like my 90-minute intensive. It's 75 minutes, and that's where we really map out what your life looks like currently and what you want your life to look like. And then we create short and long-term action plans for you to get there. And it's all about progress and building upon your success, not, oh my gosh, I'm signing up with Lindsay, I can never drink again. I want it to be really clear. Like, it's very common to have slips during this journey. It's very common to have slides during this journey. The difference is, I'm going to teach you what to do in a way where you're not disappointed, full of shame, and hating yourself. The other way to work with me is privately. If being in a group coaching situation totally terrifies you, let's work one-on-one together. We're going to create support in a way where we look at your life every single week, and you have a plan every week to build upon the previous one. In all of my coaching containers, you receive self-paced modules. You receive some sort of support in between sessions. If you're in my group, it's the online community with the other women. If you work one-on-one with me, it's through voice text messaging in between sessions. We're going to get like a major life transition. If you need deep tactical coaching on marriage, career boundaries, and this long-term sobriety, this is the perfect way to work with me, is privately. Okay, there's links in the show notes to book your session. Let's make this summer the one that you actually come home feeling fresh from your vacation and you're like ready to go. Okay, thank you so much. I'll see you next week. Thank you for listening to the Feel Good Alcohol Free podcast. If this episode landed for you, it would mean a lot if you left a review or take a quick screenshot of it and share it on social media. That's how this show reaches more women who are ready to stop living in the drinking loop and start leading themselves with confidence again. I'm on a mission to change the way high achieving women think about alcohol, because you don't need more willpower or more rules around your drinking. You need real support, real tools, and the truth about what's actually possible for you. So keep showing up for yourself, keep telling the truth about what you want. And remember, the life you want isn't found in a glass or a bottle of wine. It's built in the decisions that you can stand behind, the ones that you feel really good about. My DMs are always open, and I can't wait to get to know you better. I will see you next week in the next episode.